It is 1:30, Universal Time. I'm Jim Tedder in Washington. Israel says Hezbollah militants fired at least 10 rockets at Israeli positions in southern Lebanon after a ceasefire went into effect. No injuries were reported. Israel said it did not return fire. Earlier, the army said it had shot at least 5 Hezbollah fighters who threatened Israeli troops. In Lebanon, Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah said his fighters had won a historic victory over Israel. In Washington, President Bush said Hezbollah suffered defeat in the conflict. He discussed the Lebanese United Nations peacekeeping force that is to guard the earlier Hezbollah-controlled border area in the south. In Israel, Prime Minister Ehud Olmert told lawmakers the ceasefire resolution should change the situation on the northern border. The Israeli army says it has carried out 2 air attacks in Gaza. Both were aimed at houses belonging to militants. The first targeted a home in Jabalia refugee camp. The second hit a house in the Beit Hanun area of northern Gaza. People who lived in both houses were warned before the attacks took place. Earlier, Palestinian hospital officials said an Israeli military attack in northern Gaza killed 3 Palestinians, including a teenage boy. Israel's military says it targeted Palestinian militants after they fired 2 rockets at the Israeli city of Ashkelon. And the United States television network, Fox, said Palestinian gunmen kidnapped 2 of its workers in the Gaza Strip. People in the area say American reporter Steve Centani and New Zealand cameraman Olaf Wigg were seized after their car was stopped in Gaza City. Mexican police have used tear gas to stop protesters outside Congress. The protesters were demanding a new vote count from the presidential election last month. Officials say the tear gas ended a short clash between police and supporters of presidential candidate Andrés Manuel López Obrador. The former Mexico City mayor has charged cheating in the election that he lost to Felipe Calderón. He has called for all the votes to be counted again. The Federal Election Committee ordered another count in 9% of the country's 130,000 voting places. That has been done, but the results have not been announced. Cuban television has broadcast its first pictures of President Fidel Castro since he temporarily turned over power to his brother Raúl. The film showed the Cuban leader in bed following an operation on his intestines. Mr. Castro was celebrating his 80th birthday with visiting Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. A new anti-smoking law has taken effect in Chile. It bars people from smoking in places like schools, hospitals, government offices, and on public transportation. Officials say smoking will be restricted in eating places as well, and some will have until next May to create separate non-smoking areas. Stores are also now barred from selling cigarettes to people under the age of 18. Citizens who violate the new law will be required to pay at least $30. Health officials say that 42% of Chilean citizens smoke. You are listening to the news in VOA Special English. Former American President Bill Clinton says that stopping condemnations of people with AIDS will do a lot to fight the sickness. Mr. Clinton spoke at the 16th International AIDS Conference in Toronto, Canada. He said more people would be tested if an effort was made to reduce judgments about people with AIDS and to guarantee that infected people would receive treatment. He said most people in rich countries do not die of AIDS. He said it is not acceptable that most AIDS victims in poor countries do die from it. The World Bank says South Asia will see a sharp increase in the number of people with HIV infections if leaders fail to reach areas where sex and drug use take place. The World Bank released a new report at the 16th International AIDS meeting in Canada. It says leaders must design prevention programs that target areas with large numbers of people at high risk of becoming infected. United Nations Secretary-General Kofi Annan has expressed concern at the continued violence in Sri Lanka. He called on the government and Tamil Tiger rebels to stop fighting and take part in peace talks. Mr. Annan said in a statement that a return to civil war will not resolve the issues. A spokesman said Mr. Annan is concerned about the increasing number of deaths, including the 7 people killed in the most recent bomb attack. The Pakistani ambassador to Sri Lanka just escaped a powerful explosion near his car in Colombo. Pakistan condemned the explosion. No one has claimed responsibility. The British Home Secretary says citizens must continue to be careful even though the government has lowered the terror threat level from critical to severe. John Reid said the threat of attack remains as police investigate the failed plot to destroy up to 10 passenger planes using liquid explosives. Earlier, a British court gave police permission to continue holding 23 suspects without charges for at least 2 more days. 7 other suspects are being held in Pakistan. British and United States airports have eased some security rules declared after the bombing plot was announced last Thursday. Kidnappers in Nigeria have released 3 Philippine oil workers. Reports say the hostages were given to Philippine diplomats in the city of Port Harcourt. They had been held in the Niger Delta area for 10 days. It is unclear who seized the Philippine workers or if money was paid for their release. Also released were 2 other foreign oil workers, a Belgian and a Moroccan. And now briefly, here again is the major news of the hour. Israel says Hezbollah militants fired at least 10 rockets at Israeli positions in southern Lebanon after the ceasefire went into effect. The Israeli army says it has carried out 2 air attacks in Gaza. And Mexican police have fired tear gas to stop protesters outside Congress. They were demanding another vote count from the presidential election last month. That's the news in Special English. Jim Tedder reporting.